Hello, and welcome back to Mildly Uncomfortable. This is a podcast in which two friends sit down to explore different controversial subjects each episode. I'm your host, Bryan Zoyce, and alongside me is my co-host, Justin Coleman.
What's up?
Today, we have a very, very special guest. His name is Bryan Manzo.
Hi, I'm Bryan Manzo, and most people call me Bry the Halo guy.
Thanks for being here, Bryan.
No problem, buddy.
Well, today we're actually going to talk about an actual controversial subject. So far along, everything's been pretty easy to tackle. We're going to focus on religion for this episode.
So let's just get right into it then. What is religion to you guys?
Well, religion is basically, to me, it's an idea that a good, large quantity of people follow in a dogmatic method, really.
What does that mean?
Dogmatic means, it means more of a set of rules and principles,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
like doctrine.
For me, at least growing up, I was raised to believe it was a place that gave you community, and it was like a place to worship, a place to give thanks. And as I've gotten older, for me now, it just seems like more of a tool. Like people use it for community. Like some people join clubs, other people join religions, type of deal. Maybe they need structure in their life and they go for it. But currently, I'm agnostic, so I don't really have a religion. So for me, I guess it doesn't exist.
For me, I always just looked at religion from just a point blank kind of like viewpoint where it's just you believe in a higher power that can help you, that can get you through things and make it so like each day you kind of are more what's the word?
Closer to God?
No, where you're more motivated. You're more motivated to do stuff day by day in order to get closer to your higher power. That's how I always looked at it from just like a vague standpoint.
Yeah. Do you think it, in your opinion, because you're Christian,
Yes, I am Christian.
do you think it's a good thing, or was it always a good thing, do you believe?
Christianity?
Yeah.
In general?
Yeah.
No. To this day, because it depends on the person for me, where if you want to look at it these certain ways that we'll get into, then it's bad. But if you look at it these certain ways, then it's good.
Like what, for example? Could you think of like a
Well,
good example and a
so
bad example?
the thing is, and I've talked to Jared about this before, if you were to completely read the Bible right now and see all of the things that they talk about that is bad, it's not possible to not do these things in this day and age. So if you look at it where you're hardcore Christian when it comes to, I will follow every single thing that the Bible has told me, I don't think it's that good to do that in this day and age.
Yeah. I know there's a term where people say like cherry picking Christians, where they pick and choose what
Yes.
beliefs they're going to take out of the Bible.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, just for me saying that, technically I am.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm fine with cherry picking when it comes to religion or Christianity. I mean, but I don't know, because like I said, there's some things that aren't possible for this day and age again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, because it's cherry picking is a big thing within Christianity, of course. And so when you do it, you need to be able to explain yourself, obviously. And like I said, I could get into it more, but like I said, there's certain things where you just need to, or you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I know one thing was you couldn't wear things that were blends, like clothing.
Yes.
Like you had to be pure cotton.
Yep.
Like, how the fuck are you going to do that nowadays?
Right.
So I get what you mean by that.
And then there's other certain little things too, where it's like no swearing, and it's like that's not a huge thing anymore.
Bro, no sex before marriage.
Sex before marriage, which that one's a little bit.
I follow that rule, so, abstinence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know.
Yeah, but you're not Christian, Bryan.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people that follow abstinence, though. It's possible. It's not.
It is
It's not as
possible.
popular or as
Yeah.
forced upon, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but it's definitely not like a popular thing to do, I guess.
Yeah, mainly nowadays, or
Yeah.
at least in our generation.
This is such like a hookup culture. It's
Yes.
just never gonna.
It'll never die down to the
Yeah.
point where we're at no sex for at least us.
Yeah. Brian, you want to talk a little bit about your religion, why you think it's bad or good, or how it's changed?
I would say that I'm Buddhist, but saying so is admitting that Buddhism is a religion when entirely it's not a religion. It's a way of life. It's definitely not a religion. We don't take ourselves seriously enough to be a religion because there's no exact rules you have to follow by some big authority of God.
You said you don't take yourself seriously enough?
See, that's basically how Buddhists see Buddhism. It's we don't take ourselves seriously enough to be called a religion because we're not cultish. It's kind of a way of life, not really religion.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Hey, what's up?
So usually, in this way that you're not a religion, is it because you guys don't worship any being, like any higher power?
So a little bit of history and detail on Buddhism is we don't worship a god. There is no god in Buddhism. The misconception is that people think of the Buddha as the god that we worship, but that's not true at all. The Buddha is basically a man or woman or person who is outside of the fog. Now, details on the fog is basically Buddhists believe that everyone is surrounded in fog. By that means like selfishness, anger, malice, greed, adultery, and once in every age of man, there is a Buddha that is enlightened to the point that they're outside of the fog, that they aren't surrounded by this, basically obstructing their view of the true meaning of themselves, of life. And what they're supposed to do is they're not supposed to impose some sort of discipline of you have to do this, you have to do that to become a Buddhist or reach nirvana. But they set up a simple set of guidelines like just don't be an asshole. Try to don't get a job where you're not hurting someone else. Try not to take a hobby that you're affecting another living being. Try to improve your speech so you're not hateful, so that you're more encouraging. Basically, guidelines that he believes that you should try to incorporate into your life to make you feel like a better person and make you believe that you're changing as a better person for the better. Doesn't mean you have to do it. You can do you can follow almost every single guideline, but you don't have to follow all of them.
But with the guidelines too, that just relates back to, I mean, for what I know, Christianity, but it's probably more religions where it's still with what you mentioned with those guidelines, they still have those in at least Christianity and like again probably other religion, but with Christianity and things, they're more so you have to do this, otherwise you will go to hell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with guidelines, I understand that. That makes more sense.
So yeah, basically, Buddhism, we don't have a doctrine where we have to follow this or we are heretics in the eyes of God. That's the problem I had with Christianity because
so you were a Christian for how many years of your entire life?
I was a Christian up until I think, or I was Catholic.
Oh,
I
okay.
think up until middle school for me, which was probably like
12.
13. Then we converted to Christianity, and I followed that through the remainder years of middle school. Like I practiced abstinence, praying, and I did do my communion, my baptism. Didn't do my confirmation, but it was towards my 15-year-old years when I was in high school that I started to question more my religion. And throughout my high school career, I was definitely an atheist. I was all about science because I love science. I love reading. I love studying. So I immediately turned my back on Christianity and in favor of atheism. I look at the world in a cynical way. So everything is factual. Everything is numbers, and it's just how it is. There's no changing it. That's the hard truth. I was kind of an asshole, not gonna lie. But now that I got out of high school,
what was the deciding factor to change from this science into Buddhism?
It wasn't more per se a big revelation or big change. It's kind of I didn't like most religions because they required you to follow the extreme rules of a God that is all powerful, always good, but in all these texts like the the Bible, the Quran, Torah, they're all hypocritical. They're all, you can't be kind but condone slavery. You can't.
Yeah, but that's what I mean too, though. That's a whole different day and age.
Yeah, it's an era. But if your origins already start, if something's origins already start with something terrible, then it's not good. It's not something that it
I
was.
don't believe that.
It wasn't something that was corrupted over time. It was something that was already corrupted from the beginning.
Yeah,
But,
and that's why you're able to change.
But see, that's my thing with Buddhism is Buddhism. It just started off with a prince of someone who was very privileged in life, and he lived a very privileged life in his palace. But when he started to take a look outside of his palace, he saw death. He saw people starving, people poor, people not in good health, and he didn't like that. So he decided to start to explore the world himself and see the difference between where he lived all his life with privilege. He thought everyone lived this way to how people actually live, and he sat under a tree for a good while and tried to find himself and find the meaning of life. And he understood that nothing is guaranteed, but if you can make yourself a person to help out another person, someone who is poor and in bad health, but you are strong, you have good health, and let's say someone's reaching for some cereal on the top counter shelf and they can't because their back is messed up. You're a young, healthy man, and you can easily reach up. Why wouldn't you, do your fellow man a favor and reach over and give it to him? That was basically the simple truth. It's just, why not be kind to the nature all around us? And that's the thing I love about Buddhism, because, like I said, it wasn't some godly entity that came down and said, you are going to tell mankind how to act upon my will the way I see fit, and if they don't follow it, then they're going to hell.
Okay, I'll just preface this really quickly with, we're not, by talking about any of this, we're not disrespecting other things. We just, a lot of the times, obviously with a big controversial subject, we will be arguing. That's how it works. We're not disrespecting. We want to, poke at the certain little things that each of us will talk about. So, with that being said, by you saying that story, all it sounds like to me is a fairy tale where I would read that as a child, and that would be in a children's book. And that, of course, can still be said about God and everything, and the whole entire, beginnings of the Bible. But with how you explained it, it sounds exactly like how I would read a book.
See, now the thing here is with Buddhism, with Buddha, he, like I said, he wasn't a god that just appeared and created mankind. He was an actual person during the 6th to 7th dynasty period in India that just started to actually preach his views to actual places, real life places. I can't give you the exact locations from the top of my head, but there are historical records that are saying, a man who started to just preach these things.
You're saying is that with Buddhism, there's not really somebody who created it, or created like the planet technically.
Yeah, no,
or the entire universe, higher being.
Yeah, no. So basically, no, Buddhism. It's basically the way. We follow the way where it is. This is nature's way, and we should just go with the flow. We shouldn't worry ourselves with all this extra selfishness, greed, and anger. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, but you don't have to follow that in order to know that or do that.
Do what?
To not encompass yourself or engulf yourself inside of all this greed and anger.
Well, you're right. You're right, but as humans, as people...
So that's what I'm saying to you, though. Like, what was it that made you want to do full-ass say, like, I am going to be Buddhist with it, instead of just actually just following the guidelines in general and not just completely, like, converging yourself over it?
Oh, well, that's the thing, is when I made very clear earlier in the podcast that I don't really follow religion, but if I had to follow something, it'd be Buddhism. It's a way of life.
Why did you have to follow it?
Well, because, like I said, out of high school, I was just doing my own thing. I was, like I said, I'm not agnostic, nor was I a hardcore atheist. It's kind of just I was getting tired of the way people viewed religion as a absolute certainty that you need to follow or you're a bad person. I didn't like that. So, but I'd love to read a lot, and I picked up this book on. It was during the feudal era, Japan era, and it did mention Buddhism lightly for a bit. And I was, and the character in this book was very kind-spirited, but he had very arrogant origins. So he was kind of a dick. when he, as he was starting out, but when he grew up not to be an asshole.
Mhm.
And I was like, huh, I wonder what he read in this that made him not want to be an asshole anymore. Because he had every right. He didn't really have a...
So it was relatable.
So yes, because, I mean, he had nothing life-changing that happened to him, but he just kind of started becoming more kind to his fellow neighbor.
Mhm.
So I started to look up more Buddhism and other Eastern religions, such as like Confucianism. And Buddhism it made very clearly off the rip that Buddhism is not religion. It's a way of life. It made sure to clarify that to you. This is not rules that you have to follow, but these are guidelines that you should follow if you want to improve your life.
Well, why do you think that society then groups it within religion?
Well, because one thing is, it's just that we are as humans. Religion isn't really a thing. Religion doesn't exist. Religion is basically it's kind of a label that we give people with common ideals and mindsets. That's why us Buddhists, we don't really see Buddhism as a religion, because you don't have to go to a temple. You don't have to do this. You don't pray to Buddha at all. That's another
Okay.
misconception. You don't
Yeah.
pray to Buddha. That fat guy,
Yeah.
smiling. That's not Buddha. That's a symbol of happiness. It's a goal of Buddhism is to become happy, and that's what he represents. He's in good health. He's not starving. He's always laughing. He's happy. So that's not Buddha we're praying to. We're paying respect so we can get rid of our extra garbage that's holding us down, so we can just be happy and joyful like that fat man.
I also think the reason people kind of classify it as a religion is because it's kind of this outside group that gives you structure, which I think most people are looking for when they turn to religion. Is they're looking for a way, or they're looking for something to tell them how to live. Like, tell me how to be a good person. Like, what do you think I should do? I think that's why people usually turn to religion in the first place.
That's
Yeah.
true. I understand the structure, but like I said, Buddhism, it's not there to tell you how you need to act or what you need to do to be a good person. Being a good person in Buddhism depends a lot on you. What makes you happy? What makes you feel like you are in a happy place? What do you feel like you're in a good place?
But
And
you
if-
could have that without having to follow Buddhism.
Oh,
That's
you're-
why I'm so confused
You're
about
right.
it.
That's why it's not religion, because it's basically it's based
Okay.
off you. See, like I said, someone can be.
So I still don't understand though. So why would you want to follow it when you could just do it by yourself?
But you could say that for Christianity too. Like, you can be a good Christian, but you could also be a good
Well,
person.
no, I know, but that's why I'm trying to just poke at it. Like, because I even for me, I don't understand it as being a Christian.
Mhm.
I don't know why we do these things. And for when it comes to something that's not actually considered a religion, I don't know why you would want to completely follow it.
So, give me an example of something that you like a following. What exactly do you mean by follow?
Like how you said, the whole thing is a following
It's
in that sense.
it's a set of ideals that people, if I see someone being kind in the street, like, oh, that's a good person. Maybe I should start being a little more kind like that person. It's kind of just me feeling that I need to improve myself because I'm seeing someone else be happy. And if I don't feel like I'm happy.
Right. That's
So-
what any nice person or kind-hearted person should be like, though.
So that's basically what Buddhism is. It's not telling you you're a bad person unless you do these things. It's basically like,
Okay.
if you're not happy with yourself, then find what makes you happy. And here's a couple of things that he preached that made him happy, that he sees other people being happy with. Be kind. Try not to use such offensive terms when speaking to someone. Try not to always degrade them. Use more encouraging words. It makes the person happy that you're encouraging them, and doesn't that make you feel happy that you're encouraging them to be better?
I mean, yeah, but it's
That's
still, to me, it's still the fact that anybody should do this even without having any religion. Like,
Exactly.
you should still be doing it.
And that's the beauty of it. That's why I said I don't follow the religion. I saw the man in my story. He just started being a good person. I was wondering, like, what in this book changed him for the better. I looked into Buddhism and said, there's nothing life like changing about it. There's nothing that's incentivizing you to do it. There's not saying you're going to go to hell if you don't do what this thing is telling you to do. You're not going to reach nirvana if you don't do this. Nirvana is basically your happiness. It's based on you. If you're not happy, then you're not in nirvana. If you're happy, then you're already there, buddy. You don't have to follow these guidelines. These are just steps if you want to find yourself. Some easy hints if you want to see what will make you happy. Here are some hints that maybe try this out, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. If you're a cruel person and you just like to fuck with other people, maybe that makes you happy.
And I don't mean to offend you when I say this. This sounds like a really, really kind cult. Like when the way you describe it, like reaching nirvana and living by these guidelines.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like that's the thing about religion is, it's cultish, but that's the thing about Buddhism. Like I said, it's not a set of rules. It's
Yeah.
it's like if someone gives you advice like, hey, if you're not happy with yourself, try this out. Try pick a hobby or eat better. It's me just suggesting it, but I'm not telling you this is how you're going to be happy if you start doing this because that's not guaranteed because you're your own person.
Yeah,
And
it's
like I
like
said,
giving advice.
you don't have to follow a book. You don't have to go to a certain temple. You don't have to pray to Buddha because Buddha is not a god. He's just basically a person that just he saw the world was ugly and he wanted to see what in the world made him happy, what in the world made other people happy, and he saw that being kind was one of the big factors, a constant factor for people being happy.
Do you pray?
Huh?
Do you pray?
No, absolutely not.
Sometimes, I like see you doing something before you eat, or sometimes I don't know what it's about.
So
I thought you were praying. I don't know what it was.
okay, so no, it's basically me. It makes me happy to give thanks to the universe. Like I said,
Who are you thanking then?
I'm just thanking life, the universe, for providing a meal. I'm not thanking Buddha for providing this meal because there's a bunch of factors as to why I got food or why I have this certain thing for me. But I pray to the universe for providing me with the substance, the factors that the not factors, the items that I am currently about to consume. So it's basically me. I'm happy with myself because I'm thankful for the way in my life right now at the moment.
So you're basically thanking yourself.
I'm not thanking myself. No, I'm thanking the universe.
Would you classify the universe as being like a higher being?
No, it's life. It's what surrounds us. I'm just thankful for being a part of nature. But
Okay.
so actually, so this could sound a little bit hypocritical here, but so one of the guidelines to Buddhism is to not harm another, living being.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I said, you can be Buddhist and you can eat meat. A lot of Buddhists don't eat meat because, like I said, you're harming things that you're hunting.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's a guideline, but it's not really something you have to follow. You can be Buddhist and enjoy, chicken, eggs, meat. So that's something I'm trying to follow better. I think about I know it's the way of life to consume and be consumed,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really want to consume animals anymore, which I'm trying to get better at not eating meat anymore. The only thing I am still eating is like chicken and eggs, but I don't eat red meats anymore. But like I said, that's an example of how that is a guideline of what probably would make you happy and a good way to live, not to harm another living being, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And if it makes you happy to eat meat, then you can still reach, your happiness, your inner nirvana by continuing to live your lifestyle. So, yeah, like I said, it's not a big religious structure. It's basically a piece of advice that you can either ignore it and continue with your life if that makes you happy, or you can stop and think about like, maybe I should start running more, or maybe I should start thanking my parents more because it's the little things.
Yeah, I like that the fact that it's about you reaching your own happiness and you just kind of living your life for you instead of like living your life for a god. You know what I mean? Or like for a god's set of values.
But that's different too because I guess it's cherry picking, but you don't need to follow your life towards your own God's rules. Like you're saying, you don't have to do that. Like for Christianity,
I don't think you have to do it, but I think that's kind of the point of a religion, though.
Well, the thing with Christianity actually is you do have to do that with Christianity.
Yeah.
And if you didn't follow these certain set of guidelines, you're going to hell. If you didn't do your communion, you didn't do your confirmation, you don't go to church, you're going to hell. I was under the. So let me give you an example. So back in the 18th century, late 18th century, early 19th century, scientific progress started to progress more substantially than the previous ages because people started to accept more of the fact that maybe the way we explain how things happen in life doesn't have to do with religion. So back in the day, if you were a scientist or someone who was just very curious of why it rained or why something happened, if it didn't correspond with if you did not back up religious claims,
And then, like, you were scrutinized.
then you were shut down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Then you were terrified of being, you were terrified of going against religion.
Of course.
So early to mid 19th century, scientific progress started to progress a lot more substantially because people were no longer afraid that I can say that this creature is like this not because God created it, but because it needs to adapt this way to survive without having to worry about does this go along with religion. So and that's an example of how most religions like Christianity they kind of just they impose these certain sort of rules and mindset. If it goes against religion, a third religion, then it was considered heresy, sacrilege, back in the day. Nowadays, it doesn't matter because we're all free thinking.
Yeah.
So that's my point of take. Where Christianity was it was the worst religion to. It was the
Speak
religion.
your mind.
Yeah, it was one of the worst religions to just basically be your own self back in the day.
Yeah. That's true. I agree.
It was
with
very
that.
creedal.
Yeah, I agree.
Constrictive.
So the way I see it, the history of Christianity has a lot of history of people killing each other and humanizing each other because they don't believe in what they believe. It
That
happened.
goes for every religion if you want to get really into it.
I mean, isn't that why most wars are started?
Right.
Exactly. So, but
It doesn't have to be Christianity. We've had other wars over different religions.
You're right.
Just not obviously in the majority of Christianity, which is in the United States, I would say.
That's my problem with most religions is that it's used as a tool to
Of course.
of just hate. And if your belief is used at any point to harm something else or becomes hypocritical of what it's supposed to preach, then your religion's, in my opinion, your religion's bad.
Yep.
So with Christianity, there was the Crusades, there was the justification of the extermination of Native Americans. It was used as a tool to justify people's cruelty towards Native Americans. I'm not cool with that. And if in the Bible, it's, if it's telling you how to treat your slaves, well, having slaves, in my opinion, is morally wrong. So that in itself,
Well, of course,
already a
but
red flag.
again, like I've been saying this whole time, that's a completely different time.
Different era. You're right.
Right.
But this is what I love so much about Buddhism because
Because it's something that you cannot follow anymore that I'm talking about. You literally cannot follow having slaves because it's not legal to have slaves and it's not morally right to have slaves. So that's something that you need to actually cherry pick out because nobody does that. That's something that's completely etched out or should be in the minds of Christians nowadays.
But I think people look at that and go, why would you want to follow a book where that was even an option?
Yeah,
like that was even an idea. So like that was written along with everything else.
But it's if you want to go that way of wanting to follow it, it's the same thing of saying, why did we follow that president all those years ago when he's the one who owned all these slaves as well? It's a completely different time because it was right and they were normal to own those slaves then, just like it was normal for Christians in order to do that as well.
Yeah, but you could make the argument we wouldn't have that president now, so why do you still worship that, or why are you still following
Because
that religion
we don't
now?
do that anymore. Christians don't follow that specific thing with, I guess, cherry picking again. You don't follow that specific thing. That's why you don't follow a president who would want that anymore.
See, yeah, I understand what you mean by that, but I agree with you on Justin. It's like I said, if your religion, if this allows it at any single point in time, doesn't matter if society accepted that back in the day. If your religion doesn't have anything to say against said behaviors of society, then your religion failed.
But it's not rewritten. You can't rewrite it if you're being technical. That's why. If it was able to be rewritten at this day and age, it would be completely fucking different than what we know from the fucking 1800s.
Well, no,
like who's rewriting?
Wait, what do you
That's
mean?
what I'm saying. You can't rewrite the Bible.
You can't. It's been rewritten like multiple times.
Yes, but not in the past fucking 200 years. Not completely rewritten. Maybe actually, obviously, word for word written again, but not rewritten all of the fucking scripts and everything.
I don't quote me on this, but if I remember reading a couple articles, and yes, I think in the mid 1900s there was a big revision to the Bible. But another thing as well is Christianity has all these
Oh yeah.
sub-religions.
Yeah.
Protestants,
Judas.
Judaism, yeah. If Buddhism in itself, like I said, it's not a religion, and there's different forms of Buddhism. Like I said, an example of this is like one southeastern part of like Asia will preach a certain matter of scripts or guidelines to its Buddhist people, upcoming Buddhist, but someone from a different section of Asia could, be introduced to this, but they would never have heard these exact scriptures because, like I said, there's no exact there's no exact rules you have to follow.
Yeah.
But see, Christianity has all these different branching religions coming out from what was supposedly the original. So if you have hundreds subdivisions of one big belief, what's the true belief there? Everyone believes that their belief is the truth, and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, that's always funny to me also because there's always this kind of connection in between religions where it's like Jesus appears in multiple religions, or it's like multiple times where like a son was sacrificed, and it's like, what does this mean? Like, was it like one actual truth that people took and changed and brought to different parts of the world? So then it's like, is religion really just a tool, a means of control in that way, or is it just we really there's no God, like it's just all fucking fake type of deal?
Well, the thing is, it's just like now where if we were to tell a story to each other, any fucking whatever, and then it gets passed down, it's like the game of telephone, in my opinion, where it just gets differentiating every single time it's something or told by somebody different.
Exactly, and that's why, and that, to answer your earlier question, is why I gravitated towards Buddhism, because it didn't have inconsistencies. It had one person that historically accurate started preaching about being try to be kind to your person, and people just rolled around and went with it. There wasn't, this is what he actually said, or this is what he needed you to do. This guy just started, telling people to be kind to each other, and this is kind of, we just keep going along with it. And that's what I respect about Buddhism, is that it's not inconsistent. Whereas in like Protestants, Lutheranism, all these different types of forms of Catholicism and Christianity, it's kind of like, no, this is what they actually meant by this, or the transcripts or the translations were wrong. What they meant by is actually this. That I can't get behind, because that's basically the rewriting, re-editing between people. What they believe is what was supposed to be said, what was supposed to be passed forward, and I can get behind that.
I understand that completely.
So I understand that Christianity is supposed to be the good. Its intention is to be good. But if history has not been kind to that religion, that religion has not been kind to history. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I can't even without talking about all the other terribleness that came from Christianity or Catholicism, the one big one that gets me is the extermination of Native Americans, because they didn't believe, they didn't want to convert to Catholicism. That was awful. What they did have was a form of ancestralism, where they respected the earth, they respected their the spirits or their mystic views, and that's what that's kind of what I would categorize Buddhism as, is kind of ancestralism. It's basically just, it's your ancestors were pretty cool, it worked out for them. Why not be pretty cool yourself? Same way with like Native Americans. Like, you live on this land, other things live on this land, you consume and other things consume, so don't take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't go along with Christianity, so they got fucked.
Yeah, there's also the similarity where it's like, you said you would think the universe, and it seems like they kind of do the same thing.
Like I said, they don't think the universe is a person per se, but it's kind of just you are living, life is a thing right now, you are conscious, just go along with it. Try not to disrupt the order,
Justin, so literally you haven't said a lot at all, and I want to really deep dive into your agnostic a lot, or a bit more.
Yeah, why are you on the fence about whether to follow religion or not?
And also, if you ever were religious at all.
So when I was younger, I was like in and out of the church, like very rarely, pretty much. Like I would go like a few times a year, like Easter, like Christmas coming up, that sort of thing, where it was just like it was an event and all my family was going. I never really understood. It was one of those things where your family just told you this thing, and so you just believed it was true because you were young.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that for most people who grow up Christian. Your parents are Christian, and their parents were Christian, so therefore you are now Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And with what it is like in this day and age, where information is just like so easily accessible, for me, it was just so easy to just be like, I don't know about this. Like, there's like shit there's shit about this I don't like, and to be honest, like I don't agree with. And so when I was growing up, I always knew that I was not Christian. Like I would go to church and it's just be like, I don't believe like anything. Like this doesn't mean anything for me, because I know people will go to church and they like they really feel it how you told me.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that way.
What age did you start thinking for yourself?
Start thinking for myself.
Like stop following just because your family is Christian that you have to be. What age did you just start to say, you know what?
Middle
I don't
school.
want this.
Middle school, definitely middle school, like late middle school, probably like 7th, 8th grade.
That's kind of early.
I don't know, because middle school was like, it's when you start really figuring out who you are. Like, it's just like growing as a person. It's like that awkward stage. And for me, that was just kind of accelerated just because of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at the things I believed and the things my mom believed and her family believed. And there was just this huge disconnect, and I knew like this isn't gonna be for me. I knew I couldn't say that to her, otherwise I would have gotten scrutinized. Just because, especially in my family, and I'm sure there are other people like this, where it's like you can't say you don't believe in God. That's the fucking worst thing you could say. Heresy. In the modern age, heresy.
Sacrilege. What about you, Brandon? When did you decide that Christianity was what was meant for you?
So, like Justin said, I did grow up that way, where my grandparents were Christians, my parents are Christians, so I just grew up learning to be a Christian. My parents aren't. It's the fact that like we're not huge on it. You know what I mean? They're not like we go to church every Sunday. We barely even. I don't even think I ever went to church with my parents, to be honest. All these years, I don't. I mean, maybe when I was very little and I don't have a memory of it, but like from middle school and up, I've never went to the church with them that I can remember at least. So it's nothing like that where it was like forced down my throat. But my mom and my dad both have like little like plaques and like angels and stuff like that, and they're beautiful to me, and I just I always liked the little trinkets, I guess, growing up. So that was like I grew up with it. So, and it wasn't for middle school for me that I started questioning it. It was more towards high school. I would say like 9th or 10th grade that I was really like, I don't want to be a part of this, blah, blah, blah. And that's just because I was going through so much. And it was like, I don't know. It was kind of like where I just wanted to, I don't even know the word, conform. What is it? Is that right?
To like blend in, be like everybody.
No, the opposite. Where I didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Individualized?
I guess.
Spread out?
I guess so. So where I didn't want to be a part of my parents, technically, because obviously you go through that where you don't even want to
branch out.
Branch out, basically, yeah. Where you don't even really even want to talk to them because you're going through whatever as a fucking teenager. So it was more so that for me. And like I said, it was 9th or 10th grade that I really started thinking about it. Then, so I talked about my first job in a few of the podcasts, but this is what was the main factor when I think back on it that really made me switch back to I want to be a Christian. When I had my first job, there was a amazing guy there. He was so nice. He was one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. He's an amazing person, and he's a hardcore Christian, and he wanted me and 3 of my other coworkers to go to church with him for his, I think it was a Christmas like special or whatever, something like that. So when we went, it was beautiful. I fucking love church. I love church so much. It opens me up. It opens my heart. It opens my eyes more. And so this is the time where and I didn't really think about it. I was just like, I guess I don't have a religion at this time. It was not like I completely don't want to follow something, but it wasn't like uh, I wasn't close to anything. So when we went to church, I remember getting out, or I remember being in the stalls and literally almost crying my eyes out because it had touched me so much. And everything they were saying just felt like it went directly into my heart, and I could literally feel it raining down upon me. And it sounds cliche or whatever you want to say, but that's how I feel whenever something of the sort happens. And it goes for me as well, where if there's something evil, I can also feel that. And I mean, maybe that's superstitious, maybe that's just stupid of me to say, but I know I can feel it. So when that was happening, what happened was we got out of church and everything was all said and done. And I remember one of the coworkers I was walking with, she said that she could tell that it touched me and everything, and that she didn't feel the same way. And this one always gets me because what she said to me was, I think it's stupid that it got to you and that you were almost crying. And that goes back to, if you don't understand somebody's point of view, don't speak on it whatsoever, because you don't know how they feel at the time, no matter what it is, even if it's something little or something as big as religion. So I don't think it was right for her to say that, because there's nothing that, if you don't feel that way, since she did not feel that way, there was no right for her to say that to me, because I felt this certain way towards a religion, towards a higher power. I was almost in tears thinking and hearing it. So it's just not right to say that to somebody, in my opinion. But yeah, so since then, that was a big factor in my mind that I really enjoyed it, or Christianity in general.
So what age were you exactly when you had this big
Oh,
revelation?
I think it was like 11th grade, which would have been what, 16, 15?
16.
16. Yeah, so I was like 16. And then, so years following this, like senior year and then a year after high school, I was like, I I wasn't a Christian still. Like it was more so I just believed that there was a higher power, like agnostic. I was more so that. But still, it like whenever I would read something or see something about Christianity, it would just flush me out, and I would completely like want to cry about it in such a good way because it had touched me. So when I started going through a lot of the shit that I've already explained on this podcast, um, where I was going through all the job stuff, all the friend stuff, and I don't even actually remember if I have gone through any of my health issues on this podcast, but I have health issues as well that I was going through. Christianity was a leg for me to hold on to. Breath of fresh air, and it helped me like express myself in a way that I have never done before. And like I said again in a previous podcast, I was a very angry person, and it opened me up to a lot of things that helped me be nicer, I guess, and more so open-minded towards other people and just want to help people more.
So you could relate to it. That's why you picked it up. You can relate
Yes,
you
same
can
thing.
relate and understand what they're preaching, and you can fully relate to that.
Yes,
You
just
had,
like you were saying.
like really positive experiences, I'm guessing, in the church.
Oh yes.
Now, that begs the question: is what age do you think people, or children, adults, teenagers, what age do you think we start realizing what we want to follow? Because, like I said, mine was when I was around 14, 15. Justin, when you were younger, towards the
Middle school, yeah.
and yours was in the middle of high school.
But do you mean realizing that we don't want to follow the thing that parents set us up for, or realizing what we want to do?
Or realizing what you believe in.
I think that comes a little bit later, because it wasn't for you until, like you just said, like a year ago, that you really chose Buddhism. Obviously not religion, but in that sense.
Yeah,
And
lifestyle.
but you're different, Justin.
Yeah, the thing is,
Yeah.
once I dropped Christianity, which I never really picked up in the first place,
Right.
I never picked up anything else after.
Yeah.
So I'm still in this like
But
in between
okay.
state.
Here's a good question for you. Why do you still do believe there is a higher power though?
Because I don't know how I got here or the universe got here, and scientists couldn't even really tell you what happened before the Big Bang. Like that's kind of like our starting point for the universe.
Yeah.
But it's like what caused it kind of deal. Which there is like science behind that too, but it's like why does
Theories.
science even exist? But it's just like there's no definitive answer for anything.
Mhm.
Like even science, it's definitive, but it's just theories that have been what's
Those
the
like
word?
the anatomical particles have been proven, right? Right.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
theories that
shit
have
like that.
been tested over and over and
Yeah.
over until like it's like okay, we know this is true because we tested it this many
So
times.
many times. Trial and error with it. So,
Yeah,
That comes on my take on religion. Why I won't really ever follow one is because the way I see it is religion was mankind's way of explaining the phenomenon that was going around them. They couldn't understand why it rained. They didn't understand why one place had, dry land that they couldn't, raise any crops on. They couldn't understand why certain creatures would flourish in areas, certain plants.
Mhm.
So, and I believe that they picked religion to understand,
I understand that.
why
That makes a lot of sense.
why we are on this earth, because we don't understand that yet. And
Yeah.
and the only reason that I lean towards scientific, facts as explaining the phenomenon of life,
Mhm.
and I choose Buddhism as a way of life, is because back in the day during the Dark Ages, it was the crazy mysticism where this happens because of this, or that rock formation happened because of that, or
Yeah.
these birds and turtles are like this. But throughout history, we had scientists and people just start questioning these and actually begin to explain why our life and why the environment around us is the way it is.
Mhm.
And that's what I believe, that we still haven't hit that point where why we understand why the universe was created or why the world was created. That's why we need religion to, give us assurance that it was this person that snapped his fingers and boom, this is what happened with the universe.
I get that.
Hopefully at one point in time we will reach the point where we will be able to explain why the universe began.
yeah, it's like
all
a
theories.
definitive answer.
I don't think it'll ever be when we're alive.
Yeah, it won't come, which is why like I feel pretty good with agnostic as like the title I use, I guess, or like the label that's on me, because I know, and I mean never say never, but like I'm not going to pick up a religion. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out of my way to learn about another religion and learn about its beliefs. Like, it's cool. Like, I know it gives people structure in community. It like kind of tells you how to live, or just gives you something to live by, whether that's good or bad or in between or however you see fit.
Yeah.
But it's just not for me, because for me, I'm just going to live my life and try to be a good person. I'm not even going to concern myself with that kind of stuff. Because for me, maybe this sounds fucked up, but it's a waste of time.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I can test that. That sounds, I apologize that we haven't, picked up on Islam or Hinduism or any of these other religions. I have studied a bit on that, and Hinduism caste system is pretty funny. It's kind of it's the whole thing with the reincarnation with Hinduism is
Why is that funny?
because it's believed, there's seven. I'm pretty sure it's 7 levels in the caste
Hell?
system.
Or no?
No, of ways of life, reincarnation.
Oh.
So, I think the bottom one is like you're an untouchable. That means that basically signifies that you were such a piece of shit in your life previous to that one that you are now in the system where you're awful. No one should even look at you.
Wow.
So there's 7. It's basically the levels of ranking of who you are as a person. So if you were born a noble, that meant that the last life you were in, you were like a middle class citizen, but you were a really cool person and you went on your way to help people. So to reward you for being good, you got bumped up into a noble the next life. And if you were something higher than a noble, cleric, I'm pretty sure, then you were pretty good as a noble, so you went higher. But if you are but there's also the other end of it. If you were below middle class, that means you were a piece of shit person when you were in middle class, that you went down instead of up. So it's kind of like an elevator.
Wow.
That's what, I try to pick up a little bit on all these religions, so that's why I found it, hilarious. No, no offense, but it was just funny to me. It's an elevator system. If you're not good, you go down. If you are good, you go up.
in the next life. So you don't even know.
Yeah, you don't
which
even
is
know.
like the worst part.
So basically, you are meant to believe your entire life. If you are not in a good spot in your life, that means it was your fault.
Yeah, like if you're poor and you're a bum on the street, you think, oh, that's because in the last life I must have like killed people.
I was a piece of shit. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
a serial
That's
killer.
crazy.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, not too big on Islam. I looked at some of their guidelines, their rules. Not too much on their origins, but similar to Christianity, I'm not a big fan. I wish I could bring up the other ones, but Mormons. But like I said, yeah. Fortunately, this is mostly about Christianity and Buddhism because that's the one that we were mostly experienced because we all went through Catholicism or Christianity.
Yeah.
And you're still on it, and I went more to Buddhism. But yeah, that's why we haven't really been tackling the other religions as much.
Yeah, there's at least for me, there's not a lot that I would know about or be able to input a lot about because I'm very ignorant when it comes to other things. So I'm not well informed about it, and I wouldn't want to spread hatred towards it or ignorance towards it. So that again, yeah, that's why we haven't really touched on a lot of other religions.
Yeah. Also, it's just mostly our environment, like
Yeah,
in America, especially like outside of the obvious. Obviously, there's like Islam, Muslim people here, but it's mostly Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Like in terms of like the highest
religion.
Yeah, the
like,
percentage.
Yeah.
My question is, why do we give God a gender? Why do we give him human characteristics? There's people that just believe the universe is a entity, a being that provides for us, but Christianity provides is that there's a dude that loves you with all his heart and is out there for your best interest. Why do we give these divine beings beyond our grasp? Why do we humanize them?
I think people just want to feel special and like want to feel like an individual in the way that if it's a person and he made us in our image, then we are the best like living thing on this planet. Like we are top of the fucking food chain pretty much. Like he made us in his image and not any other living creatures here.
If you want to have me look at this, which way do you want to have me look at this? Because I can look at it from Christian, or I can look at it from not.
I'd like to see it from a Christian point of view.
From Christian, I would say because it makes it more so happiness. Because when you have human interaction, it's more so, it's better for somebody. Because there's nothing in our brains that can comprehend something that can go outside of what we know for that extreme. Like obviously we can think of aliens or zombies or whatever the fuck. But there's something spaghetti monster. So there's other things that benefactor in it with Christianity, but I don't want to get into that one as much because there's a lot of stuff that I could say, and I don't want to ramble like always. So when it comes to an outside, like not looking in as a agnostic or anything else, just plain and simple, it's just relatable. If we're being honest.
More comfortable then.
More comfortable. It's more relatable. You don't want to be looking up to somebody who you think actually looks like the fucking blob monster from, Pokemon. Muk. You don't want to be looking up to him. It's a human interaction thing.
Love the Pokemon reference. But, and so another thing that I actually wanted to touch on is back when I was more Catholic, Christian, and even though, like, similar to Justin, I was super about following the rules because that's what my parents wanted, but I really didn't truly believe in it. But the one thing that always put my my doubts in check, whatever it kept it every time I was doubtful because I'm a free thinking person. The way to reassure myself that my religion was the right one and everyone else was lunatics, because if you look at other people's stories of how this religion came to be, like Hinduism again, like. We all live, the earth, the universe is actually one big person.
Mm-hmm.
We just live on him. If you think about the stories
about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so if you think about all the stories that all these other religions, come up with, you think about it like, those are fucking lunatics. Like, the ways that the old Greeks, the tribes that band together to come up with phenomenons and like why like Athens was always so great because they had the favor of Athena, or I love mythology and I love the stories that came from Greek, Roman, Chinese, and it's always crazy that they used all these crazy stories to explain why things are the way they are. And to normal people back in the day, having the king of the gods come down there and fuck a cow and
Normal shit. Normal ass shit.
create a mentor and normal shit, man. It ain't crazy, right?
Yeah, that's it. But again, like I'll keep saying, that's just the day and age. That was so normal for them to believe in that, just like it is now, or just like it is for other, rules for it then.
Yeah, it's crazy though, because that was my way of assuring myself that these guys are just lunatics. Like, come on now, a dude fucks a cow, come on now. But
it still happens.
But when I started doubting more of, or just being more rebellious towards my parents and started doubting their religion that they've imposed on me, is I thought about our religion, or Catholicism and Christianity. It's like, so basically this being came down here and fucked a virgin, and she has to be a virgin. This is super important to the party.
It was never fucked.
I'm sorry. Had implanted himself. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I was very crude.
Implanted his mystical seed.
Yeah,
literally. Yeah.
Implemented his mystical seed on Virgin Mary, because she has to be virgin, of course. Yeah. Has to be. And
she's not married. Or she's married?
Huh?
Wait, is she married to doesn't Joseph? She have a whole ass husband?
Yeah.
Joseph?
Yeah, she was married to him. And
Mary Joseph.
And Jesus popped out, and this man could perform incredible feats like helping the blind people and turning water into wine.
Yeah.
Look outside the religion. It's like, so basically a magic cloud made a baby and a virgin, and this guy can turn water into wine and walk on water. It's pretty crazy. You take a look at the other crazy stories about some crazy magical dude that performed all these crazy feats. Like, that guy's lunatic. Who the hell believes in that? But think about this. It's like, we're thinking about fairy tales as well when looking about the story of Jesus Christ and how he came to be.
And that's like, that kind of gives like another subliminal message. It's like, look what happened to Mary. She stayed pure and she got this great gift. You should stay pure as well.
So,
yeah, but a lot of it doesn't, if you want to look at it from the Christianity standpoint, which from what you guys have just said has completely bashed on it when you don't want to look on the inside for some reason. If you want to look at it from that, again, it's the game of telephone, where it goes from exaggerating over and over again.
Can you give me an insider's perspective? Because I had the inside perspective when I used to believe, when I moved away from it. But
well, if you had the insider perspective, why would you want to completely shit on it now? That's my point there, because everything you guys said was nothing that had to do with actual respect. It was just, this is this and this is dumb. That's exactly what you both said right then.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well, no,
that's exactly what you guys were saying by making fun of it in that sense.
Well, you're right.
I was making fun of it?
Yes.
Well, no, I was making fun of this. So, like I said, the way I saw it is that's the way I reassured myself that my religion was the religion, the main religion, is because I took a look at all these crazy stories that had no consistency of like Greek mythology and Roman mythology and all these people that believed in this stuff back in the day, and I thought, like, you guys are crazy. And I always believed myself, God is pure. He did this, for all salvation, Adam and Eve. But when I stopped looking at Christianity as something I wanted to follow, I took a look at our own stories, stories on the Bible of the incredible feats that Jesus performed, that Adam and Eve performed. Well, the story of Adam and Eve, of Joseph, of what was that guy with the magic hair? I forgot what his name.
I know what you're talking about. I do not remember.
Simon,
either.
I think.
I don't remember, honestly.
But I'm taking a look at all these stories that the Bible gives us, and looking back at it, it would never be possible back in that day. Right now, if we tried to do the same thing that they did back in the day, it wouldn't be possible. And that's why I always scoffed at the idea of like Hinduism or Greek beliefs or Rome beliefs or Islam, because it's like,
what proves that?
What do you mean, what proves it?
What proves that it couldn't be possible?
Well, the fact that this guy got, I think it was Simon, but it was the story of the guy who got made a pact with Jesus, or not Jesus, with God, and as long as he had beautiful flowing hair, he would have like super strength. But if he ever cut it, then he'd lose it. and his wife cut it, and he went from being big, bulky to just weak.
Yeah.
And that magic hair, I'm looking at it from an outsider, not from a belief perspective. Because if he believed in God, and I believe in God's pacts that He made with all these significant people in the Bible, I can go behind it. But since now I'm not too faithful in the pacts that God made with all these people, this guy had magic hair because God gave it to him. And if he ever cut it, he no longer had magic hair.
Okay, let's look at it this way. I'll keep saying this, but let's look at it in the way of exaggeration. Okay?
You're right. Yeah.
Yes. So it wasn't he cut it, and he was a big, bulky dude, and then he cut the hair, and then he went back down to just being scrawny. So, of course, that's an exaggeration for a story, which it has told a story. Then, also for it not being plausible or anything, you also don't know these types of powers, if you want to look at it that way. We have not experienced something like that if you're looking at it from that standpoint. We have never experienced something like that, and probably in our lifetime we will not. So if it is very true, it could have been possible for that day and age because it was a pact with God.
See, but that's the thing, though, is it revolves around you believing this is what happened.
Right.
So, like I said, I thought, I took a look at what I thought about other religions and their crazy stories, and I thought about my religion. Like, the only reason we are so cool with Islamic and Christian, I don't want to call it mythology, but stories and tales,
Yeah.
it's because it's normalized with us. For us, everyone truly believes in it. If
I understand.
everyone can truly believe it for it right now. I can get behind the fact that Virgin Mary had the Son of God, and Jesus could walk on water, cure blindness, help all these people see into the future, know everything. But you take a look at other people who had similar feats in other mythology, it's preposterous to us, right? So that's kind
I
of
guess.
so that's the way I look at it with Christianity and Catholicism now, is that I used to believe in this stuff because it's so normal for us to believe it, because we all in the United States is mostly Christian, so we can believe, we can get
Yeah.
behind this. But to anyone outside, they'd be like, what the hell?
But that goes for anything. If you want to
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, though. Is the normalcy of like people and their religion. If you grew up in India, you're gonna grow up on the Hinduism and their
Yeah.
stories, and all the stuff they say happened with Kali, Agni. I think Agni was also Hinduism.
Yeah.
That or he's actually from Chinese, but not. I don't want to.
I thought Indian was it changed to mostly Islam now.
No, it still has the biggest set of Hinduism in the world. I think Hinduism is like number 5, but I think Islam has like 1.2 billion. Christianity has 2.4 billion. I think Buddhism has like 500 million. But I know it's great. The 1 to 5 ratio, it's insane.
Yeah. That's
I think
crazy.
agnostic is the one that's like 1 point something billion, like number 3. But that's basically that's like a food for thought for people to think about. It is when people always told me that could never happen, or that's not true, like that's preposterous, it's a fairy tale. But you look at yours, and there's a lot of mystical elements that you have to just take on faith.
Yeah.
And if they are true, then they're beautiful.
I think that's the main reason behind it.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it
beautiful.
is beautiful. That's what my point was earlier within all the going to church with it and how it touches me. It's so beautiful that it touches you in a way that if somebody doesn't understand that, they will never understand that. It's a whole thing with it where you can literally feel it run down inside of your body. You can feel it overtake you. And it's a beautiful thing to happen to you. And if you can't experience it, you cannot experience it.
See, and that's what I mean by that is like I used to believe in this. I used to always believe it. I thought all these stories were beautiful when our mother told us about these, or our aunts and uncles, and told us all about all these crazy feats that all these people, significant people in the Bible,
Yeah.
performed. But now that I'm not all for it, I look at some of these stories and like, what was I listening to?
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially at least from my perspective, to see people preach love and then they look at somebody like me and they're telling me I'm gonna go to hell.
Well, yeah, like again, cherry picking with that. That's a whole different fucking thing. With Christianity, that's very, very fucked, and I will, as a Christian, admit that that's fucked. With the whole gay rights, with them not wanting anybody to be gay, not wanting anybody to even like look at another person of the same sex. That's a whole thing that gets swept under the rug a lot of the times that shouldn't, because that's one of the main things that I will agree with you with that is not right. And that goes for a lot of other things as well that I do understand. But that one's like the main thing nowadays.
Oh yeah, dude. I
Because
understand.
again though, it was different then. But
Well, that's still
nowadays,
current.
yeah, like how slavery obviously ended, so you can't listen to that one.
Yeah.
With gays, it's like it's still going on where a lot of Christians,
Yeah, that's what I mean by I can't get behind Christianity because it's so dogmatic that it has to revolve around your beliefs have to revolve around religion. Like another example here is I met this wonderful coworker. He's an electrician. He's a pretty cool dude, right? I've worked with him before. We've had fun time. He makes so many jokes. I laugh all the time. One time we were on a job together, and we had so much free time that we just started, dicking around, having fun. And someone made a joke because he follows me on Facebook, and I posted a lot of stupid suicidal memes and stupid, just shit posting, right? And he made this joke. He's like, I like that thing that you posted, and I said, yeah, it's pretty funny. He's like, and it was like something about it was making fun of I think Hinduism, and it was like it was basically like it was a Buddhist meme, or basically peace and all that too. And he's like, well, yeah, and the guy was like, because you're Buddhist, right? And he's like, yeah. And the guy that my coworker that I was super cool with before, he looked at me, he fucking like, what the fuck, you're Buddhist? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, what do you mean the fuck's wrong with me? He's like, you're a fucking idiot. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Yeah. So this guy, every time I'm with him, he's always saying that I'm a pretty smart dude because I love to read and I all about school. And he's like, yeah, you're a pretty smart dude, a pretty cool kid. But that fucking day, I had 2 hours left to work with him. Every fucking 2-3 minutes, he's like, I can't fucking believe it. You're fucking stupid. I'm like, for a bright kid, you're a fucking idiot. I'm like, wow. And he just said, yeah, you're going to hell. Every fucking 3 minutes was like, you're going to hell. I'm like, oh, jeez, I'm sorry. And then he's like, why? Why the fuck are you an idiot? I'm like, oh, okay.
I'll keep saying it. I'll keep going back to it. You know what it always boils down to? Not being a fucking asshole. Always, always, always. You just have to respect other people and understand where they're coming from before you try to shit on them.
Tell me about it. And like, I don't want to put this man's business out there, but this man did not have a good history. This man was like fucking 45. He was a pretty fun dude because he changed himself. But this man he went to prison for like fucking drug abuse. He fucking killed like 3 people. This man had a fucking rough life. Like he had a really rough life, and I think he picked up Christianity because he wanted to atone for all his terribleness growing up. And
that happens a lot too.
Yeah, and like I was just over here thinking to myself, like, dude, I never drink. I've never done drugs. I've probably the worst I've gotten in trouble in high school was chewing gum during drama class, and I just kind of go home, chill, and just don't do anything at all. And this man was so adamant. He's like, yeah, you're going to hell, kid. I'm like, oh, I was like, listen,
those are the
I'm like, listen, I don't want to be an asshole, but like, you literally have done all these terrible things, and why
he was Christian, right?
Yeah,
That's
he just
that? Yeah, of course.
Fucking 180. He just switched like, yeah, you're going to hell, bud. I'm like,
those are the ones who give us the bad name.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, holy shit! It's like how crazy someone's beliefs can change just on one simple thing. Like
they're the stereotypical one that really makes it so like in society's eyes where it's like, this is how a Christian is. That guy is the type of person that they look at and they look for to actually be that way.
Yeah. So like I said, it was crazy to me that this guy that I've worked with so well before, he just fucking 180, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we can never work together again. We haven't since because I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be near a heretic like myself. But yeah, it's crazy how someone could like you for who you can like you. They find out that you're not Christian, or you're gay, or you don't follow some Christians be like that. You're like, all right, go and get the fuck out of my face.
Those are
fucking, and that's something I don't like about religion. Is if I don't like people that are like that follow religion.
Yeah, I had actually a family member do that. It was like, she's like, oh, like, you're gonna go to hell, and I was like, I don't care. And then she went around telling people, she's like, oh, Justin says he doesn't care if he goes to hell, and it's like, well, that's out of context, because you're telling me I'm gonna go to hell because I'm gay, not because I did something terrible. So I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
like that's just how that is.
Jesus, oh my God, that's quite awful, man. That is quite awful. But like I said, that's kind of the whole reason I got off religion. Mostly is because if it can create things like that, I would never be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been mostly all about Buddhism, because like it's not something that requires you to behave a certain way. If you just are what makes you happy,
hmm
then you're good. And that's the main reason I follow Buddhism. And like I said, I don't like to attack your religion, because I used to be Christian as well, and I know you found a good belief on it. But
It's not even the fact that it's my religion; it's the fact of the disrespect towards anything in that sense. Because it wasn't like a you just saying it; it was just straight disrespect, and that would go for anything. If you weren't Buddhist and you were saying that disrespect towards Buddhism, I would still be mad because it's still disrespectful, and that's not how it should be. That's why these wars and these things start.
and I understand that, but
Because just you saying it as a person won't matter, but when you have a global following per se, then it matters when you talk shit.
no, that is true. I understand that, but I don't respect religion, and
That's fine.
and
That's still understandable.
I don't mean to insult you per se. I meant to insult more the idea of religion and the religions. I don't want
No,
to.
I get it.
And like I said, I apologize if this my crude statements towards Christianity in itself were met with a negative viewpoint from you, which it
Well, that's what I'm trying to say though. Even if it wasn't towards Christianity, I would still have been mad.
because I'm
Yeah.
disrespecting. Yeah, and I understand that. And like I said, I don't care much because it's a religious, it's an idea, and I know it's
But it's still disrespectful, and you should not be like that. If you want to be a Buddhist, then you should be nice to people.
well, that's the
That's
thing though.
what one of the guidelines that you've mentioned numerous times now.
Well, the thing is with that is I don't have to follow the guidelines, and I don't.
Right, but it's still being a nice fucking person, Ryan.
You're right, and I don't think I am.
You
a nice
don't need
person.
a guideline to follow being a good person. You don't need a guideline. You don't need a religion to be a nice person. You just need to think about why you're being mean and then change yourself. And if you can't change yourself, then, I mean, shit. Sorry, but nobody's going to respect you if you don't respect what they're about.
Fair enough. That is fair. I understand what you mean by that.
And I'm not saying that just as a jab towards you, because I don't
No, you.
mean that you're like an asshole or anything. I'm
Oh
just
no,
saying
I
in
am an
general.
asshole.
Well, I don't mean in that sense, though. I'm just saying in general, if you're not a good person, a nice person, then nobody's going to give you the time of day.
I understand
Not
what you
even
mean
you,
by that.
though.
But like, no, I understand, and like I said, you're right. I have been basically insulting something that you relate to a lot, and and I apologize because I mean, it's not meant for you. It's meant for religion, and it's not to attack you or,
Yeah, but
or to
again,
attack people.
I just
And I
didn't
understand
take
what
it
you
that
mean.
way.
I know what you mean. People that if someone's enjoying something and someone goes out of their way to insult that shit, they're a piece of
Right.
shit. So I know in this instance I'm a piece of shit here. I know that, and I intentionally was out there to fucking roast the hell out of Christianity.
Right, because when it starts with something so little as that, that's how bullying is. And then it goes to global things like religion.
And I apologize for that.
I don't care.
Don't apologize.
I don't care. I'm just making it apparent to you in case anything besides being comfortable around your friends talking about it comes up.
Fair enough. I
Yeah.
did not take that into account. You're right.
Yes. Because I don't care in that specific way. I'm more so trying to tell you that it's so disrespectful. Like, because I don't care because I'm your friend. But if it was some random person that you were saying that to, I don't know how they would react.
Of course.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I didn't really find most of what he said disrespectful. And right for I mean, this is a podcast about religion, so
Right.
it was all warranted.
Yeah.
It was all asked for.
Yeah, that's what I said to begin with, where I said if we're all going to poke at it and we're all going to deep dive into a little bit more of what we think. So
Yeah.
it's understandable for the setting, but obviously you feel this certain way. So if it's said to somebody when you're in a room full of people that you might not know how they'll react, it's not a good way to just blatantly head first say that.
That's true.
It's not a good idea to just walk up to anybody and just pick apart their religion.
Right.
This is just like a podcast, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. Of course.
You're right. But like I said, I the way I live my life is to always be upfront with someone on what
Yeah.
you believe in. And like I said, you're right. You're definitely right.
But
And
there's still levels to that.
yeah, and it's not that I'm being crude to Christianity because I'm being disrespectful because I'm not taking into account the people I'm speaking to about this as well. Because this might be something that I believe in, but that's not what other people believe in.
Right.
So, being crude is...
It's always
and
two sides. You have to listen to people and not just talk.
So I do agree with him just in that... I do agree with Brandon that I am being very crude and very disrespectful for some of the comments I made. But it's not really meant to attack them, but mostly the religion. And I know attacking the religion is disrespectful.
Yeah, but that is different, though. If you want to really get into that, there's two different things. So, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but
just
like
for future reference, when it comes to different types of people.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out. I will think about the next time I
Yeah,
say some
I don't
terrible
mean
shit
to
on record the podcast.
I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way towards you either.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm just like putting it out there in case something were to come up that way. Because for this podcast, that's exactly what I wanted, though, in order to actually get out what you feel and like shit on it, do it, like, because that's what this was meant for, like Justin was saying. But in a real life situation, when it comes to that, that's a little different, of course.
Get fucking stabbed. It's like, hey, I heard that podcast, fucking shank.
Well, Brian, thank you for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I actually I appreciated the topic. When you guys gave me a call and said, hey, we'd like to get your take on this topic. I said, you know what? Why not?
And it turned out to be a banger.
It turned out to be a great hour-and-a-half long shit posting session.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this beautiful discussion because, like I said, we never really had this in-depth talk before about religion, and it's such a big topic for me. So now I have some of you guys' views on it.
It's more insight on somebody's mind as well.
Yeah, it was very informative how you guys stand on some religions and some how you stand on others, and the whole idea of religion. And it's an eye-opener for me.
Oh yeah, definitely for me too.
So, like I said, thank you guys for having me. It was great. And,
thank you for being on.
Yeah. Dude, it's pretty cool podcast.
Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video and subscribe. It does mean a lot. It helps us out so much.
And also, don't forget to check the podcast out on Apple and Spotify. It's now streaming there.
Again, thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.